Previously on Podcast Without Pretense.
Friends through eternity, loyalty, honesty, will stay together through thick or thin.
So he told me, I didn't say go to the chopper. He said I missed John Popper.
In my attempt to track down Jonathan again, I stopped in Atlanta, but now I'm in Florida and it's really humid and I'm not happy about this.
So
good episode.
Eric, that's Eric. Not me.
I'm Eric Sandine, and
yeah, and then I'm Jonathan Strickland,
and then I'm Ayaz Akhtar.
Wow, we've got this off to a great start. This is a show worthy of being featured on iTunes.
Yeah, I agreed.
Eric, I have a question for you. Where in Florida are you?
I'm in Orlando, actually, so a bit far away from you.
How fitting.
So he's in Orlando. I'm in Key West. So we're both in Florida right now. So
as we know from the movie we just watched, Florida is very small.
Yes,
because it all takes place in the same little area. So
yeah, and let me tell you,
who wants to explain what the hell we're doing
Orlando
today?
is exactly like the movie makes it seem.
Okay, so to start off, for those of you who are brand new and have never seen our show before and wonder what the heck we're talking about, we decided to take on a challenge where we try to test our attention spans by watching various types of movies on Netflix without the benefit of any kind of second screen or any other interruption. There's not supposed to be any alcohol, not a second person in the room with you. It's just you and the movie, and how far can you get into the film before you give up and either turn on a second screen or you just walk away from the movie entirely. We tend to pick pretty awful movies, and this week I decided to pick Miami Connection, which is a lost gem of a 1980s era martial arts, rock and roll, homoerotic action flick that was lost to the ages of time until Alamo Drafthouse found a print of it. I think they bought the print sight unseen, not knowing what was going to be on it, and then wisely decided to distribute that print, which you can now see on Netflix. So, the plot of the movie is a rock and roll karate group, Taekwondo experts, defend Orlando from motorcycle ninjas and mobsters.
Yep. I'm going to read the description from DraftHouseFilms.com. The year is 1987. Motorcycle ninjas tighten their grip on Florida's narcotics trade, viciously annihilating anyone who dares move in on their turf. Multinational martial arts rock band Dragon Sound have had enough and embark on a roundhouse wreck wave of crime-crushing justice. It then continues. But that's all you freaking need to know, because that's actually what this movie's about. This band, Dragon Sound, playing rockin' tunes and kicking ass.
All right. Times?
Oh,
Jonathan?
okay. I got through the entire movie twice.
Yes.
Wow. I unfortunately was inundated with work. I got to a total of 0 because I had the TV up. I mean, it was on TV while I was working today. So.
Oh, well, all right. I made it 30 minutes in because I had to take a screenshot of this, which is now in the chat room, because I laughed too hard. But I did watch the whole thing all the way through, and it was fantastic.
You know,
oh my gosh.
The brilliant thing about this movie is that it fails completely to preserve any sort of tone all the way through it. There are sections that are super goofy, kind of like, it almost feels like it could have been a 1980s era television comedy series. And then there are other sections where people are literally chopping each other in half and blood is spurting all over the place. And they happen within moments of each other.
If you're watching the video version right now, you can see what Eric put in the chat room. We're doing the show live at gfqlive.tv. And it's Eric,
this is
Eric,
my favorite scene in the entire movie.
Yeah, so what we have here is the master. He's a guy from Korea, I believe, who is a master of Taekwondo, and he has all these students who are also in his band who are also Taekwondo experts to some degree or another. And he spars with one of them, and essentially the whole sparring session is really just to show that this Korean Taekwondo master can kick the ass of his students whenever he would want to. There's no real other purpose for it.
It's one of the many fantastic 80s style montages in this movie. Like there were more than a few, and I started keeping track of them. Like I actually have notes for this one. 3 pages. Small note pages. But yeah, like I loved all the montages. I was totally down for every single one of them.
My favorite thing of should we what?
The question is, do you really want to go through the plot? Because like, there's really not much to it.
Well, here's my favorite thing about the plot. Okay, so the movie's title is Miami Connection, and 98% of this movie takes place in Orlando. Because that's where the band's from.
Yeah, and I was initially confused about that, but, you know, I just let it go. Like, the Miami Connection was the ninjas, I assume, or they were the ones bringing the drugs, which they were. They were the ones bringing the drugs, so there's the connection.
Right. So the basic plot is that you've got drugs coming into Florida. They're being actually the drugs are stolen by the ninja. They come in and they steal the drugs from the drug runners who were trying to make a deal, and the ninja take over the drugs. They're essentially becoming the new drug runners in Florida, and they team up with a guy who's part of a gang. The guy does not like the Dragon Force band at all. He doesn't like them, mostly just because he doesn't like them. He has no reason, really. His sister is dating one of the guys in the band, which he doesn't even really know about at the beginning of the movie, or at least you assume he doesn't. Everyone's acting like it's a big secret. So he's just like a dick, is essentially how it comes out. And then, you've got a lot of bad guys in this movie. You've got the brother, who's an asshole and hates the band for no real good reason, who also happens to be the leader of a gang. You've got the former house band for the club that Dragon Force plays in. They're also bad guys. And also, by the way, if you're in a band and you play in Orlando, apparently it's a prerequisite that you also know some form of martial arts, because the bad guy band also are experts.
Wait. You didn't even have to be in a band. The owner of the club also knew martial arts.
That's true. And then you have the martial arts. You have the ninja motorcycle gang. So there are 3 different groups of bad guys in this movie, and our heroes are this small rock and roll band that plays like 2.5 songs over and over and over again through the course of this movie. Who enjoy having fun, happy times, romping around in the surf with their shirts off, or occasionally.
All of their songs are also really positive. Like the first song they play is about friendship. Like
yes,
and the owner of the club intros them as this new rock and roll sound. You know, and we're in the 80s, and then you listen to the lyrics of this song, which I believe Jonathan may have started the show with, and
maybe
it's a song about friendship.
And their other song is about fighting ninjas.
It is, yes.
So, yeah, and it contains the chant, which it took me. I think it was on my second viewing when I figured out what they were chanting. But they're chanting Taekwon, and then they say Taekwondo.
Okay,
it's
that's
in the
why
song.
I was laughing throughout this description, because I had the captions on when I was watching it, and I did see the Taekwondo thing. When I started watching this movie, I had no idea what year it was from, and I couldn't tell if this was some like amazing, 2010 movie that they really went out of their way to shoot and make it look really bad, and it was just going to be like this throwback homage. And that is not even the case. It is simply a movie from 1987 that looks as if it was made in somewhere in the late 70s because it's like, okay, where did we get film? We ransacked this old studio. This film's not cleaned up. There's so much grit on this. There's like, it just looks like a bad transfer. There's so many things that look weird about it. I thought they were intentional until I looked up everything after the movie.
There's also some great examples of terrible ADR, where you could tell they went in to add in ADR so that you could actually hear what was being said, but the ADR is just as bad as anything that the mics would have picked up while they were on location. For one thing, the guy who wrote and directed the film, I think he wrote it and directed it. It's the guy who plays the Taekwondo master. His English is pretty good, but it's hard to understand him just from the way he speaks. His accent is very heavy, and so that's a little challenging at times. One of my favorite things about this movie is, I mean, it's a terrible thing. Like, you don't want to have this in your movie. If you ever make a movie, folks, avoid this. They have really super long establishing shots for shit that doesn't matter. Like, there's a sequence early in the movie where the band goes into a local little restaurant, sits down and eats. There is no discernible dialogue in this scene at all. All you're seeing is them sitting down and eating, and then it goes into the next scene. There's no reason for it to be there. Then there's like, if you really want to have like the perfect example of an establishing shot gone wrong, there's one establishing shot that threatens to become its own movie, which is the establishing shot of a biker bar. The outside establishing shot of the biker bar lasts at least 2 minutes of all these like.
Is that the montage where they're riding in and then having a party and then finally at the bar?
I'm thinking mostly it's not even a montage. It's really just a series of disconnected shots of mostly grizzled old bikers.
Yeah, that's like a solid 2 minutes long. Like,
yeah,
if not longer than that. Yeah.
Then they go in the bar, and you have an establishing shot inside the bar that lasts another 2 minutes before you have any dialogue. You also see lots and lots of middle-aged boobs in that sequence.
It's the first time I have a note here that just says, "Oh God, boobs, sad face." That's the first time I've written a note like that for a movie.
Eric, I want to hear some more of Eric's notes.
So I actually stopped taking notes maybe like halfway through. My last note is, "Sorry, Jim," because I thought he was going to die in the end. But like, that was my favorite part of the movie. They introduced this character, Jim, and there are about 3 scenes that kind of tie his character together, and you're supposed to care about him. But guess what? You never get to that point. Because apparently this group, the band, they were all supposed to be orphans or something.
Yeah.
That's never explained. That's never explained at all. So there's a bunch of these supposed orphans taking Taekwondo. It turns out Jim isn't an orphan, and he has a dad. And his dad, with like a very short line of dialogue, we then assume was fighting in Korea, maybe? Don't know. So Jim has to go see his dad or something, and then in the final battle, somebody stabs Jim. But you're supposed to care about this character at this point, but you really don't. Like,
what's even better, Eric, is how they set this up. So first you have randomly a bit where the guy goes out, he runs out to the mailbox and checks the mail, and there's nothing there the first time, and he gets sad, and everyone wants to know what the deal is. And actually, first they're playing keep away with a letter that he's received, and he's very upset about this. The keep away is just essentially one guy holding the letter over the other dude's head. Now, keep in mind, these guys are all supposed to be close friends with each other, and they're being total dicks to this one member of the band. and he finally says that it's a letter about his dad, and open it up and they see a picture. At first, actually, he hasn't even said it's his dad yet. One of the guys is like, "That looks like your brother. You have a brother?" I said, "No, that's my dad." And then everyone kind of gets real super serious now. And he tells the story about the fact that he didn't ever know his dad, and that now he has the opportunity to meet up with him. And then, like in the next sequence where he checks the mail, he gets confirmation that his dad is going to come and meet him, and he just flips out super happy. And he's got like a super high pitched voice when he yells. So he's like, "I got my dad! I'm gonna meet my dad!" And everyone starts hugging him and everything. Everyone's got their shirts off. Like I said, it gets a little homoerotic here. And then immediately after he learns he's going to meet his dad, that's when they get attacked by ninjas and he gets sliced open. And you're like, wow, that's some great emotional manipulation. Like, it's like saying, "Here's a puppy, kick the puppy." I mean, it's like...
What else do I have?
What's the lead character's name? The one that was played by the actual director. Do you remember?
I'd have to open up IMDb.
Yeah, that's gonna have to go to IMDb.
Well, I looked into this, and his name is, at least I know the actor's name is Y.K. Kim. And the thing about this guy, apparently I read the trivia about this. He was so well liked in Orlando, they just let him shoot wherever he wanted without a permit. And then in this movie, as he is the leader of all these folks, he's the teacher, I guess, when it comes to martial arts. At one point, he says to Jim, or like he says, I think to Jim's father, that Jim is like a brother to him. I don't see anywhere in the movie where they're close at all, to the point where you see there's a brotherly relationship, as opposed to they just kind of exist in the same space, mime in the same band, because that shit is not synced up either. So it's like, let me play a guitar. Okay, I play guitar like this. And I'm like, I play guitar, at least fake it. And the other thing is, I found out, because this is directed by the Ninth Degree black belt Y.K. Kim. The other actors in the film, a lot of them were students of him. So they just came in. So when Jonathan was telling you the lines of "It's my dad," that's about the range in which these folks decided to emote. It was quite phenomenal. And that's why I thought it was a spoof when I first started it.
I do have to disagree with you, though. You said that there was no part where they established that brotherly, kind of familial link between the two characters. What about when they were frolicking in the surf?
But everybody frolicked in the surf, so I just thought that was normal in Orlando. I mean, Miami, wherever the heck we were in Florida.
Well, what I will say,
I mean, you're frolicking right now, right? You're in Florida.
Yeah, I'm actually. My feet are frolicking as we speak.
The other note that I have is that was one of the shortest kissing scenes I've ever seen that made me uncomfortable. Like the scene of who I don't know, the guy's girlfriend and who was it, Jim, I guess, making out on the beach or whatever. It was like maybe a 5-second shot, but it made me uncomfortable. It was like the worst kissing scene I've ever seen.
What about the sequence where the one kind of Weasley guy from the band jokingly falls over between the two girls and then rolls around for approximately 45 minutes?
Oh, that was so long. Gosh. Yes, exactly. It was horrible. Oh.
This was possibly the greatest movie we've ever seen.
It's definitely the best we've watched for this show.
By the way, again, I'm gonna direct people.
Whoa, Ayaz, you're going crazy again.
Sorry about that. I was so crazy about Miami Connection, about this deal, because I went to drafthousefilms.com, and I'm going to have a link to this at gfqnetwork.com. There's a free 2-song jam pack to Miami Connection. I just downloaded it. The 2 songs you get for free, you have to give an email, so use like Gorilla Mail or something. Dragon Sound, that's the band, Against the Ninja, and the other song, Friends. I don't know what else would be in the movie. I mean, what would be in the pack. I think there's one more song in the entire thing. But to own these songs, which I now forever have, see if I can play it.
I'm just saying, I got a new ringtone, so.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be our theme song. And they're going to sue us for the pennies we are worth. Friends, I think that song is just so incredibly, like, it seems like a Saved by the Bell song.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
Well, like I said, I mean, a lot of this movie comes across not so much like a 1980s film as it does a 1980s television series. It has that look to it. There's some points where you honestly have no idea where they are in relation to where they had just been. This whole Miami Orlando thing gets really confusing. Miami and Orlando are not very close to each other at all. There are hours of driving distance between the two, and it's. But I mean, when you actually watch these action packed fight sequences that are incredibly realistic, you'll be glad that you took the time to watch Miami
Not only
Connection.
that, when Jim is stabbed, okay, and this movie being
His
called
scream.
when he is stabbed and is taken to Orlando General. So in my head, I'm like, they're in Miami. They take him to Orlando General. That's a 3-hour drive. So if my friend was stabbed, the first thing I would do, especially after we've been attacked by ninjas, is drive 3 hours north to go to Orlando General. 3 hours and 26 minutes, according to Google Maps. They approximated what Orlando General would be. It was Florida Hospital, East Orlando. So, way to go.
Yeah, because I mean they were actually coming after the ninja at that point, right? The Dragon Force group. They were specifically going after them at that point. They were trying to track them down. But
I
also like
driving. What's his name to go to the airport to
oh, maybe they were.
go see his dad. I thought that's what was going on in that scene.
It's hard to be sure what's going
confusing.
on. Right? I will say this. Okay, so you remember I mentioned that the Weasley kind of sleazy dude in Dragon Force had that 45-minute long scene of him rolling between a couple of girls on the beach, jokingly being pushed around by them. Like they're like, get out of here, and he just suddenly has lost the ability to stand up. That lasts about 45 minutes. That 45-minute long scene seems short in comparison to the scream that Jim lets out after he's been stabbed, which goes on for days.
It's wrong that we're laughing about this. I mean, Jim is a vital member of Dragon Sounds, and he's looking for his dad. He gets stabbed, and all we can do is laugh about it.
Well, I don't know how vital. What was he playing in Dragon Sounds? Did he play an instrument?
Keyboards. He was playing. Well, he stood behind the keyboards. I
assumed he was keeping
test whether or not he was playing.
Because there was the one guy on bass who was doing this, which I thought was hilarious. If not watching the video version, you're totally missing out on me just thumbing air. This is all it was. It looked like he was hitchhiking and he was having a seizure at the same time.
Oh, no. When this is posted, I'm mashing up a video of Ayaz playing Friends.
Yeah. There's your animated GIF of the day, folks.
Oh, man. So okay. Were you entertained by this film? I know it was a terrible, terrible movie, but were you entertained by it?
Oh, I totally was. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was very entertaining. It didn't drag as much as I thought it would. Again, though, I thought it was a spoof. And I was just really intrigued. But I was so intrigued by is the ISO turned way up? I mean, how are they making this look so bad? That's what I was trying to figure out. It just turns out it's a shitty film. I was totally overthinking this.
I thought it was a nice palate cleanser after our previous few films with their super awful content. So it was fun to have something ridiculous. And if it weren't for the fact that you have old people flashing their body parts during the biker sequence, and then the insanely gratuitous amount of blood in the final confrontation, this movie would probably have been a PG film. You know?
No, this movie would totally be PG. And the scenes of people flashing are not necessary to anything at all. So
no, it's just what happens whenever you're around a bunch of drunk bikers for long enough.
Yeah.
Well, according to IMDb, again, I apparently memorized the actual trivia because I'm not looking at it right now. The bikers were just actual bikers who were paid in beer. That's why they might have appeared drunk, because that's what they were getting. Beer.
Also, they were bikers.
Yeah.
Which is always good to have, drunks on bikes.
It's a good way to find extras, though.
So, this kind of leads into a thing that I put, we have a little document where we occasionally put some ideas for stories, and this is really just an aside. It's not so much a story.
You gotta stop bringing up the document, Jonathan. Just stop bringing it up. No one will
I have
know.
to, or else you don't look at it. Otherwise, the only person who does know is me. But yeah, I posted it. The first thing I posted was just this idea that I had based upon my experiences in Key West. I want to give you guys some peace of mind. So, if either of you, Eric or Ayaz, if either of you in some part of your life find that you have lost all of your skill sets and your mental acuity, you should know that you can still be gainfully employed in Key West, Florida, because about 75% of my interactions here have been with people who cannot hold on to information for longer than 30 seconds and are completely inept at what they're supposed to do. The other 25% are competent. They're fine. And in my guesstimation, I assume they are looked upon as gods by the rest of the population because of how inept everyone is here. So that's just something for everyone to listen to. Everyone out there in the listening world, if you're having issues in your life, if you're having a hard time, if you can't hold down a job, just be well assured that if you move to Key West, you could probably be like the mayor.
I am currently looking up the cost of living in Key West versus Albuquerque.
You might have to live on another key and then commute into Key West to work, because I think nearly every single house on the key is a vacation rental property.
Yeah, it's about 30% more expensive, so I don't know. I'll stay where I am for now, but I'll keep it in mind.
But you could be gainfully employed as the smartest man in town, kind of like Idiocracy.
That's true.
Yes,
and so you could make up that difference pretty fast.
When my friends ask me, why are you moving to Key West? Well, I'm going to take that place over. It'll be easy.
Right. I wish to be revered as an idol.
I haven't found Orlando to be like that when I've visited there. I know you're in Key West. I don't know how different Florida is. They are responsible for all kinds of political things that happen in the United States. So that's as much as I will say about that.
What?
Well, I would say that in Key West, it's. I mean, most people probably don't have the wherewithal to actually vote. So, I mean, people are really laid back. A lot of them are really nice. They're genuinely nice people. They're just not competent at whatever job they're supposed to do. And most of them aren't even from Key West. They found their way to Key West at some point. So it's not like they're native. I'm not saying native Floridians are this way. Just the people who end up here. There also seems to be, I would guess, there's a significant issue with methamphetamines on Key West. It's a wild guess I'm taking based upon some personal observations. Not saying that it's not widespread to the point where I keep seeing people who appear to be on meth everywhere. But I see a larger percentage than I would in, say, Atlanta. Don't know about Albuquerque, though. Eric, I'm not sure about that.
I don't live in that part of town, to be honest. So I don't really... Well, I mean, come on. Albuquerque's a small population, so I don't really notice them. Although maybe I just ignore them. So that's possible. I haven't seen any in Orlando yet. But then again... I've been in like a really nice hotel in Orlando for the past 2 days, so I really have no idea what Orlando's really like.
I don't know that Orlando's really like anything, because it's such a it's a city that you have a 3 or 4 major tourist attractions. You have an enormous population that supports those tourist attractions through, they're employed by those tourist attractions. And then you've got the rest of the stuff you would find in any city with a lot of sprawl. There's a lot of sprawl in Orlando. But I don't know of anything that...
Yeah. Like like the sprawl is just like the weirdest thing to me. I forgot what it's like to be around that, you know? And then driving like from the airport to like the hotel, you know, was like a 25-minute drive or something, and there's just nothing around. It's boring. It's all boring.
Yeah, I mean, you have to head over to
I'm sorry for offending all of our listeners in Orlando.
I would be sorry about offending everyone in Key West, but clearly you haven't figured out how to work a computer or MP3 player, so I don't know why I'm apologizing, really.
And that's how Jonathan listened most of our listeners. They're all in Key West. You know it. Come on. Who else listens to this crap?
That would explain so much. Actually, the reason why they are so inept and they can't do their jobs is that they're listening to our show, trying to make sense as to what the fuck is going on. And
no, I assume that those who listen to our show who also live in Key West are in that 25% elite and strut around as if they were gifted by the gods with otherworldly intelligence. That's my assumption.
That's a very safe thing to say.
So, looking back at the stories, hey, zombies.
Yeah.
Would you like? Did you see the thing about the zombie beer?
I did, and I mean, I drink it. I don't know whether that was a question or not, but
well, I was gonna ask. Yeah, so this is Dock Street Brewing Company making a new kind of beer that they're calling Walker. That's a tribute to The Walking Dead, and one of the ingredients in their beer mixture is smoked goat brains. So you would definitely try that.
Me so much as it's a stout.
It doesn't disgust me so much as just puzzle me.
I mean, they're trying to just capitalize off the idea. I mean, if they just needed to add smokiness, they wouldn't use brains. But it's a good marketing tool.
No, you know what they would use? Grains.
Well, was that entire story just a setup for that joke?
Kinda.
All right.
A little bit. I was also just curious. Like, I don't drink. I'm not a drinker, so I would never drink this stuff, whether it had brains in it or not. But I was just curious if you guys would pop open a ice cold Walker someday.
Sure. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
I'm not for stouts, so I might try it just to try it. But apart from that, because of the style of beer, that's actually what's turning me off to it. Not the brains part. It's kind of like, stouts, too heavy.
Maybe you could get like a really big bottle of it, and you could have a Walker that's also a growler.
So how many do you have? Like, how many do you have lined up for this?
They can't hear you when you roll your eyes.
I think they could. The silence was so palpable. I mean, you could just feel my eyes rolling through this microphone because it was just, oh my gosh, that's pretty bad. That is really bad. It's going to be like, what, are you going to do like a kill brain cells kind of thing? Or
No, I'm done.
What other things did Strickland get out of this?
I thought that was a gray matter thing, but that would require quite a setup, so I'm not really sure.
I'm ready for us to move on to another topic. If things get slow, I'll resurrect this one.
Oh.
So, you know what else has beer? Game of Thrones. I've seen a whole bunch of it at the store. But apparently Game of Thrones makes people very, very antsy with spoilers.
Yeah, this was the story about a teacher who the story was apparently relayed by one of the students who said that the teacher was having issues with his class behaving and listening during class. And so he asked the class, he gave a poll and asked them how many there had been watching the Game of Thrones television series. And about 3/4 of the room raised their hands. And he said, well, if you don't settle down, I'll start telling you how everybody dies, and who dies and how they die, because I've read all the books. And they, according to the student, call his bluff. And so he wrote down the name of one of the characters that had not yet died in the series, but died in the TV series, but had died in the books, and explained exactly what happened. And that shut everybody up really quickly. So the question I had for you guys was that, assuming that we were reverted back to the age of being in high school, which God help us, what would have, are there any spoilers that would have worked on you to keep you clammed up and to behave in class? The silence is deafening.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I didn't read like series of books like the Game of Thrones, such that there was this big difference in time. If anything, it would probably be, I guess, the movie adaptations of the books I liked. So they would be like, okay, so in X-Men, Magneto loses because his machine doesn't work, or whatever it would be. I guess that would do it. Maybe in college, when the first Marvel movies were getting out, maybe that would do it. But I don't know if there's a lot of, if I don't know if I hold enough series that near and dear to go, oh,
Are you telling me that a comic book movie can be spoiled? Are you telling me that when you go into a comic book movie, you have any expectation other than the fact that the bad guy is going to lose and the good guy is going to win?
No. My expectation, the X-Men movie is a particular example of this one, because the end of the X-Men has the opposite of what most movies have. Instead of an explosion, you have a machine that shuts down, and there's nothing that happens. So basically, to the world, nothing has happened, and that was like I guess part of the style of the movie. If these guys do their job, you don't see what happens. But like in every other movie, there's like a giant explosion, and the good guys win, and something, like think of the Avengers, right? Giant freaking battle scenes. The X-Men had a really small feel about it. So I guess that's the way I would say spoiling the tone. But yeah, you're right. There's never a sense of, is this character going to die? Of course this character's not going to die. This thing's called the Wolverine. He's not going to die. I know he's going to be in the next movie called The Wolverine is Back, or whatever the hell you're going to call it. So that's what I meant by that on the spoilers. Not so much the story being spoiled, but the storytelling.
Gotcha. Eric, did you have an answer?
I really don't, because I think the problem with me in high school was I was reading nonfiction science books and like romantic English literature. So there really weren't any spoilers that one could have come up with that I would have been pissed about.
I don't necessarily mean like you have to think about what you were reading in high school. Just assuming that you were in high school right now, that you were of high school age right now. Is there anything in your life right now that you would say, yeah, if you were to threaten me with spoilers, that would cause me to behave? The only thing I can think of off the top of my head, it's
honestly,
yeah. The only thing that would have worked on me up until relatively recently would have probably been Breaking Bad, simply because I was watching it seasons after it had premiered.
I could give you Breaking Bad, but it wouldn't have mattered to me that much until like the last season. Like,
no, see the end of season 4. In fact, I did have the end of season 4 spoiled for me, and it really is kind of upsetting to me, because I wonder what my reaction would have been had I gone into the last couple of episodes of season 4 without knowing what the outcome was going to be. I think I would have. I mean, I enjoyed it very much anyway. It's fantastic television and really well done, and also a fantastic, gruesome shot in that sequence. But if I had not known, I probably would have been completely floored by it.
Yeah, I can totally go with Breaking Bad. I'll agree with you on that one.
Okay.
But there's no way like a teacher could have spoiled that unless he was privy to knowledge that the rest of us didn't have.
Well, if you were like me, like this would also require that everybody else is watching
exactly.
it like on Netflix where you've got the year or half a season delay or whatever. That's what it would require. But I was just trying to think what property out there exists where I'd be upset enough if people drop spoilers. And I've read all the Game of Thrones books, so there's nothing unless George R.R. Martin shows up and starts to tell me which Stark dies next. It wouldn't really faze me. I wish I cared enough about Star Wars to say that the any spoilers from the Star Wars sequels would upset me, but I don't think I care anymore. Maybe I'll enjoy the Abrams movies when they come out, but the prequels really sucked a lot of the enjoyment right out of me from the Star Wars universe. Star Trek I enjoy watching, but it's I don't know that there's anything necessarily spoiler material related there either, so I can't really think of anything else either. It's really
what about the Lord of the Rings movies? Clearly, you don't want those spoiled, right? The Lord of the Rings movies?
There's no way you can spoil something that's rotten from the inside, Ayaz.
That's an awesome villain catchphrase or statement at the end as the hero is dying. There's no way you can spoil something that's rotten from the inside.
Yeah. It's maybe one day I'll do a full vlog explanation of what I find irritating, just so I can get it out of my system, and then I can just refer people to that video rather than torture everyone
Jonathan,
with yet another tyrant.
And I will buy you a domain for that. I will literally buy a domain to put just that video up.
I hope there's a video. Make sure there's also a SoundCloud version, because I would love to see the audio wave that's 3 hours long, and to see it peak in the silence. I'm sure it'll get really angry and be quiet for a couple of seconds, and then it'll spike back up in rage. It'll look great. I
honestly think that I could be pretty succinct with it. I think
so. How long are you talking? Succinct as in if we're talking, this is a long series. So
it's a long series. It's a long series, but the problems are pretty easy to sum up. So, I mean, I could, if I were to pick out every single instance and then explain how they fit into the complaints I have. Sure, that would be a very long video. This also sounds like
a better website, so that I can have a timeline versus the novels and the movies, and all of your points layered somewhere in the middle, so that it's interactive.
So what you want is for me to just have an epic long rant, because that would justify the existence of the website, as opposed to a short. Here's why.
Jonathan, I think you're doubting me. I buy domains on a whim as a joke all of the time. Even if it's a 5-minute rant, I'll still buy a domain for it.
Well, here's the deal, right? Now, what we need is because Eric can make really cool shit on the web, what we could have is many different versions, and either a TLDR version that Jonathan does, or if you want to hear a random clip from Jonathan's rant, so it would just give you a different time, a different 20-second clip, or it'll be delivered to your phone. You have a link. I think there's a lot of potential here. How long is your commute?
I would have to occasionally throw in just completely random shit in the middle of that rant. It would become like one of the Mr. Plinkett reviews, where he does the homicidal tirades that are just kind of sandwiched in the middle of his epic criticisms of various movies, and he already does those incredibly well. That niche is filled. I don't know that I'm needed to jump in there. Although I think all the people from his group enjoyed the Hobbit films, so maybe I could do that. I just would feel like I just feel like I'd essentially be aping someone else who already does it really well.
I don't think your rage needs to be contained because somebody else has been angry about a movie.
It's true.
And there would never be a second. And
You have to assume your opinion is valid. As a matter of fact, I know that you do because you do a lot of live video.
Well, it may not be that I necessarily think my opinion is valid. I just might be that big of a narcissist.
It's the Jonathan Show.
I love that we have the
So
quick
you'll need a
clip.
website.
If you're watching the video,
We
the best part of that, yeah, is that we cut briefly to the picture from Miami Connection of the student getting punched in the mouth, open mouth, just in the cutting back and forth. All right, so other conversational points here. What about the fact? Now we talked about smartwatches here.
Show.
Yeah, we talked about smartwatches here a couple of times, and since the last time we recorded, there's been the official announcement of Android Wear.
Yeah.
Does that interest either of you?
So my problem is I was about to order a Pebble this week, and I'm still probably going to order a Pebble, honestly. Because do we even know when any of these are coming out into production?
I don't believe so.
I think LG. I thought that one of them was talking about something as early as this summer.
Yeah, I mean, the Pebble's there. It does what I want it to. Do I actually want a wearable that looks as nice as that little LG watch? Yeah, I do. But I mean, a Pebble for $150, I guarantee you none of the watches that are going to do this stuff are going to come in under $200.
That's probably true.
So,
what about, are you getting the Pebble or the Pebble Steel?
I'm probably just going to grab the standard Pebble because that extra $100 to look cool doesn't matter to me.
What color?
I like the red one actually.
That's the one I have.
Yeah,
I've got that one. Yeah, so I've got the Pebble, and I did I was a backer on a couple of Kickstarters for a couple of other smartwatches that haven't delivered yet. So both of those are behind schedule. The Agent and there's the second one. I can't remember what the other name is.
Agent, was that the cool band? Yeah, I remember that one.
No, the one that was just the band was the CS something 01, but that one's not a smartwatch. So it's just a watch that's got a cool form factor.
Yeah.
None of those three have arrived to me yet. So I'm already gonna have, assuming that they make good on their promise, their Kickstarter promise, I'm gonna end up with 4 watches that I can switch back and forth between. And then Android Wear announcement comes out, and I see some of these. I'm like, is that what I am now? Am I the guy who's going to collect watches? I don't tend to collect anything, but I do like these watch designs. I think in this case, I'm really going to hold back and see what the reviews say before I make any other decisions. But I probably will end up with one of them.
And that's totally why I'm still just going to buy a Pebble anyway. Because I know it works. I know, it's cheap enough. If I need to buy a Google wearable in a year, that's fine. But
what about you?
My concern has been about the battery. The only wristwatch I currently wear is one of those Eco Drive ones, so that it's recharged by kinetic motion. And one of the things that I can probably make a routine, if necessary, is to continuously, or like regularly, that is, plug in my watch so it doesn't die. So I really love the idea of having more information at a glance. I'm a big fan of that because it always seems like something really important happens when I'm away from a machine and it doesn't buzz, or I don't see the notification, or just flicks by and I miss it. I really like having notifications everywhere. But right now, I'm really curious about what form factors we're going to see, and are they going to be? I haven't seen a lot of specs on the Moto 360. That looks like the most jewelry-like watch, and I like that kind of style. But if you're going to work out with it or not. It needs to be a little lighter. It's really about battery life for me. So if they can figure out either a really easy way for wireless charging, or it can sip power, or it's going to just use kinetics, which I know is not enough to power that thing, it would be really kind of nice. That's the real thing I'm looking for right now. But I think Eric's right, though, when it comes to the Pebble. That's very, very good. They just opened up their app store, and it's going to be a good middle ground until these watches actually show up.
Yeah. I often tell people that the Pebble is really geared toward kind of the tech geek sector, the folks who are really into tech, and I think of it very much as the same sort of folks who really like Android phones. They don't mind the fact that it's not necessarily as polished or pretty as some other technology out there. It works, and it has a lot of appeal for developers. It might have a fairly limited number of features on it, but what it does really well. And I've really enjoyed having it. It's been really useful for me because I've gotten to the point, especially when I'm walking, I don't always notice. My phone's always on vibrate. I never have it on ring at all. So there are times when I'm walking where I can't even feel it vibrating, but when I've got it connected to my Pebble, the Pebble will vibrate, and you can't ignore that. I mean, it's a buzzing on your wrist. You notice it immediately. So I don't miss calls now. So that's good. It has certainly done wonders as far as my wife not being as mad at me when I get home because I don't miss her calls.
I would say I have a problem with that, but I have T-Mobile, so I miss calls for a completely different reason.
That's a good excuse to have. That's shall we look into the future, gentlemen?
Sure.
Next week on
you
podcast.
Know what? I'm totally. I got an idea, guys. We're gonna pool our resources together and let's buy Oculus Rift.
Seriously, guys, I'm telling you, I saw Spider-Man on a postal truck.
You know, trying to find Jonathan's getting really annoying. I'm not entirely sure he lives in Atlanta anymore.